This is the Tom Barnard Podcast. Listen live weekday mornings, 8 to 9:30, or anytime you like as a podcast on the Tom Barnard app at tombarnardshow.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
There's no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen. God, there's a lot of headlines. What the hell is going on in Southern California? Jesus.
There's some fires going on, right?
Oh, massive fires. When did this happen? I know when it happened, but how did it start? What the hell?
Yeah, I was saying, because did they just pop up yesterday, or has it been a small fire that's been going on for a while that's like escalated? Because I feel like yesterday, all of a sudden, it was just boom, California's all on fire again.
Yeah, I know Kristyn Burtt has been talking about like how they've had fires.
Right.
It feels like California just always. First off, I always forget that California is not just like all LA from top to bottom. There's like wildland and there's Napa Valley and stuff like that. So there's fires all around there, but it feels like there's always some sort of like just at all times some sort of like wildfire that's slowly creeping along and they can never quite get a hold of it. Now it seems like it's out of hand.
It's really sad because many, many years ago, I was offered a job at, what the hell is the name of that radio station again? Okay, I don't know. It was some big radio station out in California. So Catherine and I flew out there and we drove around and it's like, oh, there's all this cool stuff. But as they say, the vibe wasn't good. It's just like, there's something about California I just would not fit in. First of all, California, I got to be honest with you. And I look, if you're from LA, I understand you love it and all the rest of it. And California is great. But it is the absolute home of the ass kisser. There is no doubt about that. And I suppose that's because of Hollywood. That would make sense because, acting is all about kissing ass, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I thought it was very cool. You see, some great stuff. But the vibe there just was, the people were not my kind of people, I don't think.
No, and I feel like if you're in LA where you get a lot of transplants and stuff, where it's not necessarily like a true like local feel, you get a lot of people that they're there to better themselves and not just kind of help their community, like in a Minnesota type of place. So I feel it feels a little bit disingenuous.
That's exactly, man. Maybe it is the point you just made. Maybe it's because I am from Minnesota, because Minnesotans do tend to be generous and really not puke up about how wonderful they are about it. Most of the things that happen in Minnesota, I think nobody ever hears about, which is how it should be.
Yeah.
If you want to be generous with people, why does anybody else need to know?
Right. Whereas in LA, like I bet if you went to a community of people that have lived there their entire lives, they probably have like the locals probably have a different feel than, the aspiring actors and actresses that moved from all over the place. Yeah.
And I'll give you another tip of why I just moved from place to place to place throughout the year. I had a little grocery shopping to do yesterday, so I drove out to the island. There's a place called Publix. You ever been to a Publix?
Nope, but I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Of course, the first time we ever went there, I pull up in front of it because, I had lived in Florida before, worked up northern Florida. So I pull in because Publix are really good grocery stores. They're kind of like the Byerly's of Florida.
Okay.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But it's out on the island, all the rest of it. First time we ever pulled up, what are you doing here? I said, what are you talking about? I'm not going to a store called Publix. I said, honey, really? You really think the name of the place is Publix?
Well, just wait till you find out what it takes to enter the store.
Exactly right. No, it's not Publix. But I will tell you, because of politics, because of all these different situations, I drove out to the island. There are 3 bridges to get out to that island. One north, one central, one south.
Okay.
I drove out at 2:57. I got there. I left at 3:27. So I was there for exactly a half an hour. I pulled out of the parking lot and sat on the street for an hour and a half before I could get off the island. So many people have moved, because Florida doesn't have a state tax. So many millions of people have moved now. It took me an hour and a half to drive, and I'm not exaggerating this, an hour and a half to drive 1.7 miles. Jesus. I will never go.
Yeah, you would have been better off just walking at that point.
Oh, I could have. Well, actually, from that store to my house, walking is 2 miles.
Oh, and you do that in a breeze. You would have been home in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it would have been, well, I don't know about 10 minutes. I don't know about 10 minutes, but, but I couldn't believe, it was like, oh, God, it was horrible. I will never do it again. I would never think of going on that island anytime after 2:00 in the afternoon or before, let's say, 6:00 at night. 2 to 6, you can have it because you can't get off it.
I've never moved to a brand new big market like that, but I feel like that's got to be one of the most frustrating things is because where I live, I know when, for instance, this morning, I know when I have to be out of my house in the car to hit a certain light at a specific time. If I miss that, it's like, okay, I know traffic's going to be worse because it's 5 minutes later and that changes everything. But
yes,
I'm sure brand new market down in Florida, you're like, oh, it's the middle of the afternoon. People are still going to be taking their leisurely time. I can run to Publix, and all of a sudden, a 2-mile drive turns into a 45-minute escapade.
The other thing, and I'll close with this because we got to get going here, but I got nothing to do. I'm sitting there, and I got nothing to do. I'm listening to the little radio and all the rest of it. They, do a nice deal. And I had to get home because I had a speech about this podcast last night in Florida. A bunch of people showed up that wanted to know about the show, and they had heard about the show, and so I did that. I did a speech last night for about an hour and a half on this show and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. So that was not, Floridians really want to know about it. It's very, very cool. But so I'm sitting out on the island, just sitting there. I'm not even inching along. I'm just sitting there, and I see this house. It's a really nice house, really, really pretty house and all the rest of it. I thought, my God, I wonder how much that house has to be worth at least $10 million, blah, blah, blah. I looked it up. It's for sale. You guys can buy it today for $127 million. For a house.
I got to move some money around.
Yeah.
So maybe he's called for a week, but then after I move some money around, maybe I can buy a couple blades of grass.
Yeah, it's not liquid right now, but
yeah.
What's the Kevin Hart joke? See, the way I can't do it is
the way my bank account is set up.
Yeah.
Got to check into the savings. Yep.
Honest to God, I just 120. And by the way, I got home and Catherine said, "Oh, there's one out there for sale." The lot, it didn't even have a house on it. It's like a 3-acre lot on the ocean, $200 million.
Yeah,
for dirt.
No, if I put a tent on there, can't even afford that. That's my girlfriend was watching a Netflix selling New York real estate or some show.
Oh, sure, yeah.
The guy goes, they're touring some condo, and the person's like, all right, what's the asking price for this? And then the real estate agent's just like, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
There you go.
And then didn't tell how much it was. I was like, that is wild. So yeah, there's some astronomical prices out there.
This place has to be worth well over $1 billion.
Also,
yeah,
that's
$1 million. Yeah.
What do you mean? Hold on, I need to go back to that. What do you mean if you have to ask? What if I'm just curious?
I want to know how much.
Any responsible adult purchasing an estate, you should know the price. There should if you go to the grocery store and it's bag of chips. See, I don't care if those are $4 or $5.
Right.
I don't need to check. If I'm buying a house, I want to know the price tag, no matter how rich or poor I am. That's insane.
I should mention this to you guys too, by the way, especially a guy named Bruce who came to me. I had never met him before, but he's from Minnesota originally, worked at WEBC in Duluth.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I want to have Bruce on the show when he's a really, really nice guy. But we have listeners in South Florida. It's very, very nice. It's really cool. Oh, look at you now! All of a sudden,
I'm sensing a live show down in Florida
on the beach. Put one on the beach.
I'm planting the seeds now.
Well, I think it's a totally different because most, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here by any stretch of the imagination, but I think most radio now is radio's in a different era than it used to be. It's not as big as it used to be, and a lot of podcasting is either very scammy or it's really hokey. That's what their opinion was. That was not me saying that. Mm-hmm. They said most podcasts you listen to, they're very, very scammy or just very hokey. And they really don't like these super celebrity ones like this Kelsey woman or whatever her name is, had the highest rated podcast for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They just don't like that kind of stuff because they're already billionaires. Why are you doing a podcast? Go away. Right?
Yeah, you're saying they're kind of missing that that genuineness that you get of, like, for instance, like a local news, like Chris Egert, those guys, they connect with their audience. When you have a massive national wide scale audience, it's hard to really individualize and like, hey, I get you on a person to person level. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they did bring up they didn't really care for SKOR North or Chris Egert when I was there last night, but you know,
yeah, that's a big time.
He did, but yeah, it's a genuine thing. Like when the three of us are talking, it's not like no. When we laugh, it's because it's funny, not because we want to do some fake laugh or some. First of all, can you imagine me doing a fake laugh? Oh, ho, 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 ho. That's hilarious.
Just start laughing at everything.
Yeah,
Tevin, hilarious.
Yeah, well, that's what I love. What you just did, by the way, is the perfect example. I know we got to get going, but from here down, it's funny. From here up, you can see by the look in their eye, they don't really mean it. So there you have it. But in any case, so if you got anywhere from 127 to about $200 million, I got a couple of spots you can buy out. I mean, I don't say I got them. I just know where they are. Is what I'm trying to
know the direction. Yeah.
I know what direction to drive to go out and spend $200 million on a piece of dirt. Can you imagine, what is the most expensive house on? The most expensive house on earth has to be well over $1 billion. I would imagine.
I would assume so.
Because of property, you think? Because of the property value alone,
and I'm sure just like in like different countries around the world, like it's stuff can be inflated too. Because what is it like? United Emirates,
yep,
UAE or whatever it is. Yep. Like I know they have some people that are like a community that is so wealthy that I'm sure it would blow our mind just how much money they splash around every day.
Well, didn't that one guy come from the Emirates? Yeah. And was he brought with him like 20 billion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
According to the Rob report, whatever that is online, looks pretty reputable. The home in London, England, is worth $314 million. And they claim it's the most expensive house that you can buy today.
I would imagine. Does it say who lives there?
It does not. Oh, no, it's Prince Abdullah bin Khalid bin Sultan Al Saud, a member of the Saudi royal family.
There you go.
Yep.
That's really weird because that's my real name, you know.
I kept thinking it was over, and then it just kept going.
The name just kept going and going and going. All right, we do have to take a break, but like I said, all we do in this show, we brought you the ability to buy a house from anywhere between $127 million, and how much was it again?
314. There's also one in Naples for 295. That's second on the list. So
in Naples, Italy,
in Naples, Florida. So in your neck of the woods.
295. What?
Yeah, Gordon Point, Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida, and it's worth almost 300 million.
Yep.
I got to go back to bed. I really do. Remember back in the day, if you made $100,000 a year, you thought it was a big deal, and it is. Don't get me wrong, but not like it used to be.
No.
All right, we'll take a break. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, I got to talk about Josh Arnold. Josh what a piece of work this guy is. Talking to him yesterday, magnificent. Message to the listeners of the Tom Barnard Show. I like how he always, Tom, I have a message for you. I said, yes, we'll take care of it, Josh. And I have an announcement for you, too. I just need 5 of you listening to do me and yourself. Now, you'll be doing me this favor, and yourselves, too, no question. I need you to take advantage of a free offer. Seriously, it's free. I need you to call Josh Arnold at 952-925-5608. Tell him Tom sent you. Josh will meet with you for free and give you advice on investing, handling, and making money. He's very, very good at that, I'm here to tell you. He'll answer any and all of your questions. Well, look, first of all, it's great talking about Josh Arnold as soon as we're done. The average house is going to end up being worth, about $5 million? So you better start investing your money. Things are very expensive. And the way you invest your money is very, very important. He will answer any and all of your questions about retirement, your 401k, IRA, retirement savings. That's the big one. And it's free. What do you have to lose, right? I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Be one of my 5 listeners to pick up your phone now. Call 952-925-5608 and ask for Josh, Mr. Money Talk. He'll give you straight talk, not sugar-coated advice about your investments for free. So call Josh now at 952-925-5608. But you got to tell him Tom sent you. Then call me afterward and thank... I love this one. Call me afterward and thank me for the free service. Yeah, call and thank me. I know that's what you want to do. Anyway, investment services offered by Josh Arnold, my friend. Josh Arnold, investment consultant, LLC security investment advisor, past performance, no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice. And by the way, I'm not like a lot of these other people. If I say somebody's my friend, they are my friend. I just don't make that up so you invest with them or whatever. Josh is a good friend of mine. I like his mother better than I like him, but that's just the way it is. And I am, by the way, a paid endorser.
When you need someone to listen, a lawyer you know and trust.
If you've never been in an auto accident, it's hard to know what to expect from the insurance adjuster. Here are some tips. 1, if they talk to you about whether or not you should hire a lawyer, it's a good sign that you probably should. 2, it's illegal for them to give you any legal advice. They aren't lawyers and they aren't licensed to practice law. 3, if they tell you that everyone involved in the accident is at fault, they're wrong. This comes from the belief that you're at fault for just being on the road. That's nonsense and not supported by any law. Finally, remember that friendly adjusters are often just gaining information. They want you to do most of the talking so they can file their report. I'm Mike Bryant from Bradshaw & Bryant. I hope you're never injured in a collision. But if you are, don't sign anything until you've talked to us.
Find Bradshaw & Bryant, personal injury attorneys at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw & Bryant.
Let's take a second to talk about my bank. That'd be North American Banking Company and Mike Bilski. If you own a business or are thinking about starting one, make sure to check out my friends at North American Banking Company. When your business is looking to capitalize on an opportunity or solve a problem, turn to their experts because they're locally owned and operated. Loan decisions are made in the Twin Cities. They're not shipped out of state. Bilski takes care of it. This helps business owners expand with confidence. So if you're looking for a better banking experience, why not bank with my friends at North American Banking Company? Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
By the way, I did double check because I wanted to make sure. I said, well, I got to go back and make sure I didn't, I have to refresh the page. No, it actually is true that the number one story on a lot of news sites is the same exact number one story on a lot of news sites from yesterday. Half of Americans carry spare underwear. 2 days in a row, it's the number one story on the internet. Why?
Like just with them or what?
Just emergency underwear is what they're calling. I don't poop my pants very often. I got to be honest with you.
So like going to work or something?
Anywhere you go, you're supposed to carry another pair of underwear with you just in case for emergencies. Now, I got to be honest with you. Don't you get this urge like from the belly button down when it tells you you better head for the toilet?
Yeah, I've never really thought about, other than a trip where you pack a bunch of them because it's going to be
right.
days you're gone. I've never
right.
really thought about the carrying a spare pair of, do you stick them in the glove compartment?
No, it's in your pocket. Well, the guy yesterday was in the pocket, wasn't it? Because this came up yesterday, the first time that half of Americans carry spare underwear.
In their pocket?
Wasn't that what it said yesterday, AJ?
It's actually a trench coat that you the old stuck it in.
Go.
Oh, so they're flashers. So they're not spare. It's their only pair.
Yeah, no, the person in the article yesterday said they just throw a pair in their back pocket, but I would imagine most people don't carry them on person.
Yeah, I was assuming it's in your car or something.
Backpack.
It sounds made up.
It does.
Well, 2 days in a row? Could they make it up 2 days in a row? Can they get away with that?
Well, it could have just stayed up there because it's so funny.
Well, maybe. That's a possibility. That's a good observation, I would say. But if I ever get to the point that I need to have emergency underwear, just put me in a home.
Right. Unless you have some sort of medical condition. If you're just your everyday average person, I don't think you really be responsible enough where you don't need to carry extra underwear.
But then you might wear Depends, I think.
Ooh, Depends. Maybe I'll start wearing those anyway. Just for the hell of it. What do you think?
Hey, you know what? You do you.
You do you, baby.
That's you. Yeah, why not?
You do you. So what's going on in the sports world, ladies and gentlemen? Judd joining us.
We are we were a city or a state of winners last night. The Timberwolves won in New Orleans. The Wild beat the St. Louis Blues in St. Paul. Yeah, we since the Vikings lost, all the professional teams do is win right now. So the Wolves have won. The Wolves have won 2 consecutive games, in fact.
So this game Monday night, I just looking on the internet, it looks like 80% of people think we're no way we're going to win that game. I don't know personally. What do you think, Judd? Can we win that game Monday night?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
So the blowout against the Lions was so bad, I think people just lost their faith, which is very ordinary. Yeah. But no, I mean, they could definitely win. I'm curious to see how they bounce back. I'm curious to see how the quarterback, Darnold, bounces back. But all that being said, yes, it is far from hopeless.
Did he play himself out of a contract? He looked terrible.
He did. He didn't help himself, and if he has another bad game, I think he's going to cost himself millions.
Millions.
Like if he comes back now and plays well, and they win, and then he plays well, and let's say they lose, I think that the Detroit game might be seen as a bit of a blip, despite the fact it was very alarming because it was so bad. Horrendous. But if he plays poorly on Monday, I think he's cost himself millions of dollars, and I also think that there's a real chance then that the Vikings were we've talked about this, about him having the franchise tag put on him, which means they can keep him for $40 million for one season, but they also could trade him because if he's worth a lot, they can trade him. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that's possible if he has another bad game. So
no,
it's he did himself no favors by doing that on national television in primetime.
No question. Now, I do have to ask you. I'm going to ask all three of you this question because is a lot of this, I'm an owner and I have as much money as you do and I'll spend more money than you do because I'm richer than you. Is that part of this whole thing for the owners?
It can be, but the NFL is a salary cap league. So like baseball, that's definitely can be a thing. Mm-hmm. Because there's no cap, so like you can spend as much as you want. Like the Mets, Steve Cohen spends ridiculously because of that to a certain degree for sure. Football is the other thing is football. It's billionaires across the board. They've got a salary cap. I mean, I get your point, and I'm sure it plays a role. But I don't know it plays as much of a role as it does in a sport that doesn't have some type of floor and ceiling on what the players can make.
I just don't understand how this guy who's never won anything down in Atlanta was here. He's never won anything, and he's worth like $200 million or something.
Yeah, and I think that in the case of Kirk Cousins with Arthur Blank, I think that was I have so much money. We'll just pay Kirk Cousins whatever because I think we can win. And Arthur Blank's starting to get up there in age where, he doesn't have that many more cracks at it. So he, thinks he can be smarter than everybody and sign Kirk Cousins, which I think would be why we would franchise tag Sam Darnold, because with J.J. McCarthy on a rookie deal, if J.J.'s worth, $20 million, it makes sense that we're not spending it on quarterbacks. We can just overpay Sam Darnold.
Right. I don't know, man. That's a lot of money and unfortunately, you can talk about all you want, but the fans, the ones picking up the tab, they're the ones paying for it all.
Oh God,
yeah.
Just look at the prices.
Absolutely.
$20 for a beer now. I mean, yeah, it's incredible. No, there's no question it comes back. I mean, if you go to a football game, well, heck, if you go to a sporting event now, the prices across the board on concessions, tickets, all of that is enormous.
Yeah, I left a message for Ginny Hubbard that said, I can't come back unless you pay me $50 million a year. I haven't heard back from her yet, but
I'm sure the call's coming.
It's coming any minute now, no question. $100 million, and everybody has to pay, okay, I'm going to have a pretzel, and I'm going to have a beer, and it's going to cost me $50.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah. That's it. I think the last time I went to a basketball game at the stadium where the Vikings play, US Bank Stadium, and this is like 5 years ago, and I think 2 burgers and 2 drinks was like $40. And I'm not talking good burgers. I'm talking very run-of-the-mill, sort of dried out slabs of meat.
By the way, I should mention this to you.
Yep.
And I'll mention it to your partner. on a different date. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a speech last night, and there were some people there that listen to the show every day, and they love the show. So you guys all have fans in South Florida. I wanted you to know that they love the show.
That's awesome.
So that I just I have never worked with a guy, by the way, that if they knew that, they would have told me that. No way. Yeah, they said they really like listening to Tom on there, but I'm not going to tell them. It's like, what? When you want your Tevin, Judd, AJ, they listen to the show, they love the show. I'd like you to know that. You want your coworkers to feel better, don't you?
You would think.
No, that's not how people are, though.
Well, that's a shame.
They like me, but they think you're okay.
No, it's all about me. They love me.
More me now. In any case, so the Vikings, so you think they got a real good chance of winning this game Monday night?
I think they have a real chance.
Good.
Real good might be a little bit strong, but they've got it's not as hopeless as it feels right now.
Good.
Based on what happened against Detroit, which did suck. I mean, that was tough to watch.
Terrible. Oh, it was just hideous and horrible. My wife was screaming at the television. So what does that tell you?
No.
Whenever Catherine's screaming at the TV, I know they're not playing very well.
No, she wasn't wrong. I hope she stopped at some point, though, because it did become hopeless.
Well, I went to bed. That may have been the second or third time in my life I've ever given up on a Viking game and just gone to bed. And I used to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's not forget that.
Yep.
So honest to God.
It was a solid move by you, by the way.
I did. I just said, Catherine, I've had enough. I can't watch it anymore. And let's move on. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, that one game, unless Monday night is 100% different, get rid of this Darnold guy. He looked horrible.
Yeah, it was, he melted down.
Yes,
I don't think there's any other way to put it. He melted down, unfortunately. But you know what? He did this against Jacksonville in a game that they won because Jacksonville stinks. But they got it. The next game, he started to play pretty well again. So we'll see.
Right.
The problem is there's so much pressure this time around again, and now there's more pressure. And as I said, if he does not play well, it will cost him millions. And so there's going to be a lot going through the young man's mind.
I would think so. God, I hope they. And that once again, I want to thank the NFL. I really appreciate that the game starts at 8:20. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Maybe I'll get to bed by about 2 a.m.
Well, you know what though? If it's a blowout, you could go. Again, 3/4 and out maybe.
Maybe I'll start drinking again. What do you think? I'll go at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll just go head out to the bar. Don't some of the bars stay open until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? There is one bar in Florida, by the way.
Yeah.
It's right by the airport. And the biggest sign on the building, open till 5 a.m. Like, what the hell?
So why did they bother closing?
Honey, it's 4:10. Let's go have a drink.
Wow.
Like, what? Aren't you? If you're drinking at 4, Tevin, would you stop blocking out your screen?
I don't understand what is going on.
You're a disaster.
Oh, we've lost Tevin.
Yeah. Just like yesterday. He's a disaster. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. It's Tevin's fault. There we go. There's Tevin.
He's back now.
There he is.
Well, he wanted to make himself look taller. That's what it was.
Now he's like looking down on us.
Now he's looking down on us. Exactly right.
The fact that he can look good with that camera shot pisses me off.
Oh, don't even start. Now I got to put up with that the rest of the day.
If we get that shot right there, look terrible.
Boogers.
Big fat faces for most of us.
Boogers hanging out.
Yeah, well, that too. Nose hairs.
All right, so the Vikings, you think are going to win Monday night? I hope they do. That'd be good. What else we got? Anything? Oh my God, it's that. I can't get that game out of my head. They were horrendous.
You've got to purge that game. You got to forget that game.
No, you're right, Judd. I got to get that out of my head.
It's Wednesday now. You got to move on from that game. You got a game on Monday. Yeah, no. And just to be clear, I didn't say I think they have a great chance. I said I think that there's a chance. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Well, they should have a chance.
I don't want it to be painted as I expect a victory because there's too much that could go wrong. It is the Vikings.
Now, you are a Viking fan because that is a very Viking. I didn't say they were going to. I said they might.
Yes.
That's a Viking fan right there.
Well, I mean, when you've grown up here, you've got no other choice but to be realistic about it.
I gotta be honest with you, though. As a teenager, this guy, I go to Size Men's. Well, I wasn't a teenager, actually. I think I was only like 10, 11 years old. Size Menswear on West Broadway in North Minneapolis. There's a guy there I'd never even heard of. So, yeah, that would have been 1961, so I was 9 years old, okay? Mm-hmm. I go, appearing today at Size Menswear, Viking quarterback Fran Tarkenton. I'm like, Viking? Who's that? Because they hadn't played a game yet. This was the first year of the franchise.
Sure, yeah.
I go in, I'm shaking hands with Fran Tarkenton. I'm 9 years old. All the rest of it, oh, that was kind of cool. And he took a picture with me and the whole deal. I brought that up to him like literally 35 years later or whatever it was. But my first exposure to the Minnesota Vikings was at Size Menswear, 9 years old, North Minneapolis. And all they've done since then is piss me off. So,
So basically, if Fran hadn't appeared, you wouldn't have found out about him really, and then you could have avoided a lifetime full of heartache. That sounds like a Minnesota sports story.
That is a Minnesota sport. The agony of almost 70 years of trying to watch a team that hates me. Yep. 65 years anyway.
Yeah, exactly. What you gonna do?
But yeah, Fran's always been a great guy. You spent a lot of time with Fran Tarkenton ever?
No, I've talked to him a couple times, but never a lot of time.
Great guy. Don't you think?
I mean, he was the first. When I started to watch him, in fact, I started to watch him in '78, which was his last year. Mm-hmm. You know that was. I mean, he was the franchise. He remains easily, I think, the best quarterback in franchise history.
That was almost 50 years ago.
Tell me about it.
Oh, that makes
or don't
my
tell me
heart
about
hurt. Don't tell me about it.
I might not want to remember that.
That was 47 years ago he retired. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. I can't believe that. I thought it was like 6, 7 years ago.
No, Tom, that's not the case, unfortunately.
Fran is one of the nicest people, as successful as he was. One of the nicest people he'd ever. But I got to be honest with you, Tommy Kramer. I love Tommy Kramer. Tommy's got that. Well, he's kind of got a Tommy B edge to him anyway. We both got that. Get away from me.
Oh yeah, Kramer's great. Yeah, no, he's an old school.
He is
quarterback, man.
Love that guy. Mm-hmm. Just the one. I was trying to think. We didn't have a lot of prick quarterbacks here, did we? Most of them been really, really good guys.
I'm trying to think of like. I mean, in the 80s, it was Tommy Kramer. It was Wade Wilson.
Wade was a great guy.
Yeah.
Brad, you would
Brad
never.
Johnson?
Brad Johnson, one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah, Brad Johnson's a great guy.
Why? So we've been very lucky with the really, really nice people we had at quarterback on this team. If they could just win a Super Bowl, that'd be great. And then
I was going to say, I think I would take an a-hole for a Super Bowl.
Okay, who's the biggest raging prick quarterback you ever met?
Ooh.
And it can't be like at North High in Minneapolis.
No, I'm trying to think now because quarterbacks now are so, try to be so polished.
Yeah, that's true.
Like for just the purposes of having turned into one, Aaron Rodgers has to be up there.
Oh yeah, very good choice.
Favre sold himself so well that his faults were sort of hidden by his personality.
And he's a thief. I mean, that man's a flat-out money-grubbing thief. Ugh.
But, man, he was good with the public.
Oh, yes, he was. He was indeed. I loved watching him. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Loved watching him. So, all right. As usual, you got to bail on us. I understand that whole situation. So what? Anything we should be looking forward to? Should we look forward to Monday night?
Absolutely. It's a playoff game.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Just don't blame me if they let you down.
All right. We'll get that done. So we will talk to you. We'll talk to you this week, but then next week we'll be talking to you after the game next week.
Bright and early on Tuesday. That's exactly right.
Purple Daily.
Yeah, Purple Daily.
Where's my Purple Daily hat, you prick? I've never gotten a hat.
Ask AJ. He goes into.
Don't ask me. I don't have a hat either.
Station all the time.
You didn't get it.
I'm sure there's one in storage there that Ross can dig up for you. It's probably got some dust on it. Just dust it off.
But yeah, let me close again by reminding you, you guys do have big fans in Florida, South Florida.
Thank you. That's awesome to know.
Show. It is very nice to know. I did tell them behind the scenes, no, they're not that great a guy.
Well, you said they're pricks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Biggest pricks I know, Zulgad and Mackey. Just remember that next time you watch Purple Daily.
We'll get it done. All right, Pally, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Yes, definitely. See you guys.
Thanks a lot. Judd Zulgad, SKOR North, ladies and gentlemen. Take a break. Be right back in a couple of minutes. Chris Egert, another legendary Minnesota broadcaster. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for Livia with exciting news. I want to introduce you to the new Livia. Livia has taken weight loss to the next level, did a great job for me. As a matter of fact, it was brought up last night by, like I said, I did that speech for several people and tons of people, and they noticed that I had lost, what the hell was it, like 75, 80 pounds, something like that. And I want to lose about 20, 25 more. I want to get that done. Same trusted team of registered dietitians, nutritionists, registered nurses you know and love now offers even more tools for success, including the latest GLP-1 medications for qualifying patients. At Livia Weight Control Centers, they do weight loss differently because everyone's needs are unique. They're you-centric. I said you-centric. Their approach means a personalized, comprehensive nutrition and lifestyle plan. It will be created, by the way, just for you. So, yeah, like I said, I weighed, I think it was 310, 312, something like that when I first went on it. Lost 80 pounds, so I need to, I think I want to drop about 20, maybe even 25 more pounds. I think I want to do that, get that done. Because, look, it's only going to be better for my long-term health, and it just makes sense. Join today. Get 25% off Livia's award-winning program. Trust the local experts who've been helping clients lose weight and keep it off for over 15 years. With 9 convenient Livia centers, there's never been a better time to start. Visit Livia.com or call 855-GO-LIVIA to schedule your free consultation. Don't wait. Let's make this your year to succeed. Livia, we do weight loss differently.
The past several years have been the craziest in the history of the car business. The pandemic, supply chain and ship issues, all causing extreme inventory shortages that led to, well, predatory pricing. Some dealers charge thousands of dollars over MSRP.
We never played that game. I'm Jim Paul of Valley Buick GMC. We knew that would leave a bad taste in a customer's mouth. More importantly, from an integrity standpoint, it was just wrong.
So what about the current market? You know, inventory and pricing.
Valley has their best inventory in years. Really all the Buick and GMC models. Even the previously hard-to-find Yukons, HD pickups, and Hummer EVs. Plenty of deep discounts. Many with factory rebates and low-interest financing.
Then it's a good time to buy?
It's a great time. We're welcoming our previous customers back, as well as anyone else that felt the treatment just didn't feel right the last time somewhere else.
Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley and Hastings or valleycardealers.com. Car buying without the bad aftertaste.
Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you've saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, can sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold's do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid endorser.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
You know, I never thought I would be this lucky, and we're going to have to, I guess, figure out how to get this done. But, you know, just to be working with Tevin and AJ has been great. You have Judd, and there we go. We have a special guest on the show. It's not Jude sitting in the chair, by the way. That's not the special guest on the show today.
I just need my computer.
Yeah, you got to be.
I was like, what's going on?
Oh, you haven't brought it up yet?
I'm not bringing it up. by doing something.
What are you doing?
Something about a form for the government. It's really exciting.
Oh, I thought you wanted to be on the show.
No.
Well, just come on for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
God, what a big baby. That's all I have to say. Chris Egert now joins us without complaining. Although you got this look on your face like you want to complain. What's that all about? It's like,
no, life's great. I don't have I was trying to figure out what's happening.
That was super convincing, Chris.
have you ever listened to the KQ Morning Show or the Tom Barnard Show in the last 40 years? Has it ever moved smoothly, ever? No, it never has.
That's what makes it good. That's what makes radio interesting is when it goes off. Right?
Goes off the rails.
I mean, you can come up with topics and you can talk about things, but it gets interesting when it goes sideways. That's, with everything, actually.
This goes sideways a lot. That's all we know. So,
good.
Yeah, as soon as you're done, let me know, and then we'll pop you on for a couple of minutes.
No, I have something I have to do. I'm sorry.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
So what kind of form are we filling out there, Catherine?
It's something for SAG and AFTRA.
Oh.
Yeah.
He goes, oh.
Famous people stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, famous people stuff.
I don't have to be in
last week, so I'm already ahead of the curve.
I don't have to be in the union here. We don't have to do that at Channel 5. Or get to, however you want to say it.
Catherine, do not say that's nice that you don't have to be a member of SAG and AFTRA when you're sending information to SAG and AFTRA. What do you say?
Since
I've only been with them now for about 65 years,
You do have a point.
Thank you.
I only worked in one union shop, and it was in Seattle, and it was and I got in trouble with the union leadership lady, and boy, she was up my ass. It was something. I'm like, oh, this is how this works. All right, I got it.
Well, Chris, I will tell you the same thing, that you've got a couple, well, more than a couple. You have several fans down here. Catherine and I did a meet and greet last night with a bunch of people, did a speech and all that, and we got listeners down here. Matter of fact, we're gonna bring a few of the guys on, the men and women. Actually, it was mostly women last night. Did you notice that?
I did.
A lot of women showed up to talk about the morning show. Oh, there's Doug Sprinthal now. So now we got 6 people on at once, which is a new record in radio and podcasting.
I think you forget about the early days of the podcast when we had to have 2 studios.
Yeah, we did. We just had to have 2 studios to get everybody on. But so, are you leaving?
Hi, everybody. Bye.
Hi,
Bye, Catherine.
Okay, that was a radio appearance because there was no video. Well, now there's video of her walking away.
There we go.
And the dog, of course, following her because I'm not as important as she is. Let me put it that way. Okay, so Doug and Mr. Egert join us right now to talk about what's the biggest story going on. Did you just get up or something, Chris?
No, do I look like it?
You're like
I'm a little tired. I was up late last night.
What were you doing? Glug, glug, glug.
Basketball game.
Glug, glug, glug.
Playing in one or watching one?
Wait a minute, what was it?
I was watching a basketball game. For whatever reason, my voice is a little hoarse today too. So,
like to do my impression of Chris Egert. You ready?
Oh boy!
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, you forgot to crush the can on your head.
That's right. Crush the can.
No, I was a basketball game. I'm not tired because of that.
Why are you tired?
Because I was up till like 10 o'clock on a school night, and that's ridiculous for me when I get up at 3. So,
God, we were just talking about that when I all those years I did the KQ morning show. I used to have to get up at 3:15 in the morning. Oh my God, that is torture. There's no question.
It has advantages, right? But I guess I would say the biggest thing, without doubt, going on today is the fires out in LA. So we put a lot of resources into that. I actually was messaging with Kristyn Burtt a little bit ago, and
right.
Their house is in what she said is in the warning zone. So her husband stayed up all night last night in case they had to evacuate, so they could go at a moment's notice. And bad deal.
So let me run one thing by here quickly. So you were talking to Kristyn Burtt directly.
Yeah. Well, I was messaging her.
Okay, because someone I know tried to call her last night, see if there's anything I could do to help her if the fires close in, and haven't heard back from her yet. So I guess, some people are more important than others,
Well, I'm definitely not saying that. Maybe I hit her up on the right platform. That's the deal with the age we're in now, Tom. You got to figure out what is the best mode of communication. Do we prefer a text message, an email, a Facebook message, direct message on Instagram, direct tweet, WhatsApp, Telegram? What's the other one?
I know.
Yeah.
You're so hip knowing all these social media platforms, Chris.
Yeah.
What's that?
MySpace.
You're so hip.
No, I'm just saying, like, you never know how to reach people because there's 7 billion ways to.
There are 7 billion ways to. There's no question about that. And that's just the way it is, and such is life. Is that what you're saying?
I am. And on that note, I actually have to roll because I have news to do. So
I have never liked you.
I'm sorry to hear that.
All right. I hope you're awake when you're on tomorrow.
I'm trying.
Thanks, man. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
God, how did that time fly? It's 9:50 already, or 8:50, or whatever the hell it is. 8:50.
Oh yeah,
that flew by. Why did that fly by so much?
We were engulfed in conversation with Mr. Zulgad, so I know we were.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to bring them on earlier because I think we start off the show and because of me it goes too long, and then I'm going to have to dial it back. Get him on.
Yeah.
What are you laughing about?
Hey, Judd.
God, it's a good thing that I brought my extra underwear.
Oh,
there he is. He's got his extra.
Just right out of the jacket
screen. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Doug, it's the lead story again today.
I put it on our Facebook page, the show's Facebook page. It's like, okay, half of Americans, and everybody's like, extra underwear? What am I, sick?
Hey, Tom, this is funny for you because you're not here. There was a weird smell that joined the studio about.
Well, God,
what it was, Doug. This is funny if you bring in clean underwear, not used.
They're
clean. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe you.
Hand it over to AJ to look at your underwear.
Don't wipe it on the glass, you animal.
There you go. Ah, it's so nice, isn't it? Isn't it just a wonderful way to go? I suppose we, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I suppose we better take our break here because we're already 10 minutes past break time. So I guess it would make sense because we do have a guest coming up that was supposed to come up about 6 minutes ago. So
we'll get him situated here during the break for sure.
But Jesse can stay with us for a while, can he?
Oh, when can't he?
Yep.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. So why don't we take a break here, come right back because Jesse the Shrink, and you want to talk about perfect timing, having a shrink on the show just after Doug arrives.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Oh,
Maybe you can explain why Doug has underwear.
It's called conceptual continuity. It's how you tie things together. You guys have been talking about drawers for 2 days, and I thought this will be funny. And
it has been the lead.
Unless you're AJ.
It was funny.
I am not kidding you. It's been the lead story, not just a story, but
it's
the
just
lead
a
story.
way to make money. It's like most people are descended from Lithuanians, and then everybody responds and they make a shitload of money.
Oh, that's nice. Shitload. Way to go. All right, we'll take a break. Be right back in a couple of minutes. Doug Sprinthal joins us. Also, Jesse the Shrink will be with us right after this.
Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Austin Bartz of Bartz Lawn and Landscape and Bartz Snow Sculptures.
I started banking with North American, I think, 3.5 years ago. All the people know me by name. I know them by name. It's fun to come into the bank and actually talk to somebody you know. So I made the switch and I'm very happy. It's the best bank I've ever been at.
So why not bank where I bank? With my friends at North American Banking Company. To learn more about North American Banking Company, go to nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com, or do what I do and stop by any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's time for Bradshaw and Bryant. At this time of year, something that we might not think about, slipping and falling on ice when you're out, or worse, someone slipping and falling on your property. Property owners are legally responsible for maintaining a safe environment for visitors. You can post a caution sign or de-ice the area. Failing to do either and somebody getting injured because of your lack of safety precaution can be considered negligent. If someone does slip and fall and suffers an injury, they have a certain amount of time to file a claim, or you lose your right to collect any damages for your injury. If this happens to you, contact an experienced attorney right away. It's free to meet to go over your case. Contact Mike Bryant of Bradshaw & Bryant at MinnesotaPersonalInjury.com. I hope this never happens to you, but if it does, Mike Bryant is the one I recommend to all my friends and listeners.
Find Bradshaw & Bryant, personal injury attorneys at MinnesotaPersonalInjury.com.
Seeking justice for the injured. Bradshaw and Bryant.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you and making it through. Mike Lindell and his employees want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows now for only $14.98. Yes, I said $14.98. I cannot believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98, but it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get My Body Pillows for $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code TOM, or call 800-516-5146. Use promo code TOM to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now is only $14.98. Queens at $18.98 and kings only $1 more. Not only that, orders $75 or more, ship absolutely free. MyPillow, baby. That's all I got to say.
You're listening to the Tom Barnard Podcast.
I'm glad that commercial came up because last night I did a speech. A bunch of people, a lot more listeners than I thought would be there down in southern Florida, but that was nice to see. Meet them all. Bruce, as a matter of fact, showed up. Bruce from Minnesota originally. Used to work at WEBC in Duluth back in the day, but just a really, really nice man. But we talked a little bit about that, and the reason it just came up is because we were talking about Mike Lindell, and, Mike hits bumps in the road, just like I do. Some people don't care for me. I don't know if you know that or not, but, just the way it happens. But, yes, indeed, Mike Lindell is a very good friend of mine, and I hope he gets through the bumps in the road here. And I've always liked the guy. I like far lefties, like far righties, like people in the middle. I don't settle in with one group. Have you ever noticed that?
I have.
Yeah, I just don't understand. You don't agree with me? I hate you. What? Now, Jesse, you're a shrink. What is wrong with people? Just because I don't agree with you, you hate me. No, I mean, not you, but people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. As soon as you said that, I thought about times I've been on here before. That's one thing I respect about you, Tom, is I can tell you're one of those people that seems to have that ability to take somebody on the far right, somebody on the far left, and can't you, to some degree, if you choose to do it, you can try to put yourself in their shoes and go, okay, I can maybe figure out and see why they're coming from where they're coming from. Because that's really about it. It's one of those things. It's so simple, but so many people struggle to do it. If we can do it, we can find a level of respect for that person, and we don't necessarily have that reaction of like, how dare you? How could you think that way? How can you say that?
Yeah, and I again,
empathy
far left, far right. It just doesn't matter to me. You lived a different life. That came up in the speech I did last night, and the people there were very, very nice. It's like you and I live different lives. Some of you are going to be far right, some are going to be far left, some are going to be in the center. We didn't all live the same life. Calm down.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for you, Tom. So I heard you did a 90-minute speech about the podcast.
That's correct.
Was this a setup for like timeshare where the doors are blocked? They couldn't.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. We didn't even serve alcohol. So what does that tell you?
They must have been locked.
So they must have been locked. All these people were very, very nice, very sweet people. And we just talked about, and it did come up in what Jesse was just talking about, the fact that there are people on the far right that hate the left and people on the far left that hate the right, and we hate this and you're in the middle. Why don't you grow a pair and take a position? It's like, so because I'm in the middle, I'm a weakling? Like, what? Calm down. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I always do notice this. They're never tough guys or tough women. It's always, I'm going to take a position. Well, that's because you're hiding in your house, okay? You're a tough guy, whatever. Settle down. We'll get through it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're thinking about the thing. It just made me think I had this old bumper sticker back in the day, and it said, don't hold strong opinions about things you don't understand.
I love that.
And I think about that with the whole, why don't you take a stand? I mean, I suppose in a way, isn't there a way that is kind of a virtue if we can take a stand on things? I mean, for sure, there's a place for that. But
I agree.
How many times I think when people do that and they go, why can't you take a stand? You should take a stand for something. Okay, sure. But how much do you really understand? How much are you missing out on some different perspectives, And 10 years from now, are you going to be embarrassed that you were you should take a stand? I mean, where's the room for opening up to seeing things differently over time?
It's amazing, and I don't know if you guys have ever been through this or not, but I have a relative, because of political beliefs, who hasn't talked to me in 22 years.
Wow.
A relative. It's like, what are you, mentally ill? What's wrong with you? Right?
And that's what they think of you, probably, right?
Oh, I'm sure that's what I'm mentally ill and blah, blah. And I don't even really have, I suppose about some things, maybe I have a strong position one way or the other, but some ways I lean right, some ways I lean left. I mean, I just don't understand. I'm never talking to you again, even though I'm related to you. What?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's one thing that comes up sometimes for me in therapy sessions with people is
sure.
When do you know when you should put up that boundary with a family member and not have that contact? When should you just put differences aside? When should you try to hash things out? How do you figure that out? Is it ever healthy to just do that? Is it healthy to do a cutoff and go, hey, I know your blood, but what? Because the other person can't keep their views to themselves because you feel like you're being judged by the other person, or because you can't be open to how they're seeing things? Is there times that's healthy to make that cutoff, or no?
See, I think what you just said is really, really important, because I'm sure that, Tevin and Doug I've known a long time. AJ I haven't known as long, a couple of years. But I got to be honest with you, I don't give a rat's ass what somebody else's view is. You're not going to piss me off. It's like, you had a different life than I did. Go ahead, do what you do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Calm down. Calm down. That's all I'm saying. Except for when I'm watching the Viking game.
You guys. The worst sports fans in the country.
What do you mean?
What? Oh my God. You're terrible. All of you, the whole state.
No.
Okay. A week and a half ago, what were we calling the quarterback?
He was
Ginger Jesus.
Oh, God,
he sucks. It was all over social media. It was just like that guy that with alopecia last year that had two great quarters. The Pastronaut. You guys were ready to run him for president.
That was. I remember Bob Sansevier got on here and was like, "Yeah, the Pastronaut, sign him to a lifetime contract. He's going to be the one." Like, so yes, there are a lot of big swings, but it
Bob
feels like
also predicted the Sunday game was going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
Well, he was right.
Well,
the
one
Vikings
team was
got murdered.
Yeah, shootout.
I feel like I jinxed it because I've been a fan since back in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I swore all this year. I said to my friends, I'm a Vikings fan, but it's going to fall apart. Sam Darnold is going to show who he really is. There's a reason he's not been a starting quarterback. I'm not going to buy into the hype. You guys are all foolish for doing this. And then the week before they fell apart, I was like, all right, you guys, I was wrong. Sam Darnold is amazing. This is a wonderful team. And then I apologize to everybody for that. I should not have taken that stance. I saw what happened.
But it's emotion. I mean, that's the big thing. You want them to be who you want them to be, and you get very emotional. I do. I get very emotional about it and all the rest of it.
That's what makes it exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you temper that, it's like you don't get as upset when they fall apart, but like you are also kind of removing yourself from having that
I get
passionate response.
But let's go back through Minnesota sports history just for a little bit. 1987. How good were the Minnesota Twins in August of '87? They sucked. They had a terrible season. And then they got good the end of August and then just swept right through. Nobody thought they were going to win the World Series. Nobody thought they were going to be in the World Series. You got to have faith. And so, see, I learned this growing up in Massachusetts and being a Red Sox fan. So we went from World War I to 2004 without winning the World Series. So cry me a river about the Vikings. But have a little faith. We got a great team. We got weapons, and any given Sunday they can win. And he looked like he couldn't even read the playbook on Sunday. I'm like, man, I think my wife could have thrown that one.
Yeah,
she's got a good arm for short term.
Yeah, I mean, he looked average, which is about like every other quarterback in the NFL, other than your top of the top. But yeah, we should be able to beat the Rams, But after that, probably a coin toss.
Jesse, have you gotten any phone calls about me? Because every time I do something a little off kilter, people go, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, just call Jesse. He'll tell you." Have you gotten any
No,
calls?
nothing following through yet on those phone calls.
Nothing yet on the phone calls. I'm glad to hear that. It's a good thing. So how's the world? How's everything with you, Jesse?
Things are fantastic. In the therapy world, things are great. I just got back from 2 weeks off. Every year, end of December, I take 2 weeks off. That's just part of, therapist. About every 6 months, I need to take 1 or 2 weeks off because it's just a lot of taking on people's stuff, which I'm very happy to do. But I'm just coming off of 2 weeks off to end the year. So this is my first week back doing therapy sessions, and it feels absolutely fantastic.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you ever want to do a Harrison Ford shrinking impersonation during your therapy sessions now?
It's never dawned on me, but now it's going to. Now I'm going to probably think about it every therapy session.
Now, what are we talking about for the people of not?
Right. Yeah, go ahead and explain it. I'm sorry, Tom.
No, it's your story.
Well, there's a wonderful show on TV called Shrinking.
Right.
And Harrison Ford, I think sorry, Harrison, you're really famous, but not known for great acting abilities. But he plays a therapist in his late 70s who's come down with Parkinson's, and he's kind of the crabby old man who's also the guru for the office of some pretty weird therapists, quite honestly. But it's a great show.
Wait a minute, weird therapist. Who ever heard of it, Jesse?
Yeah, I know, right? That was one of my struggles starting to watch it, because I don't know if you guys have ever related with any of this with shows, but for me to start watching that and then to see what some of the things are that the therapists do, it's really hard for me.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way a therapist would ever do that. It's entertainment, dude. Just enjoy it.
Downright illegal.
Right, 100%.
It's like a doctor watching House or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
But he is very entertaining in that show.
Yeah.
God,
and that made me think for just a moment is, I don't know if they told you, Tom, but one of the things I'm in here today is I got this show coming up next week at the Parkway called Jesse the Shrink's Midlife Crisis Show 3.
Love it. I love the Parkway, by the way.
Yeah, and this will be my first show there. But what made me think of that is that what led to this is that I was doing a show at Gambit Brewing in Lowertown, and after a full day of a work conference. So I go and I'm doing this show, and I look to the left of me and I see the owner of the clinic I work for is right there, and I'm about to do my stand-up comedy routine. And I'm kind of like, I'm in performance mode, so I can't stop and think too much, but I'm like, oh dear God, I hope whatever I'm about to say, he's going to be okay with.
Just remember, at some point, Andrew Dice Clay's mom sat in the front row of one of his shows, and he made it.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine that. So I just go ahead. I'm like, well, we're going to see what the universe does here. And I went ahead and I did my thing. And I started talking about stories of being a therapist and all this stuff. And I even said to the audience after this show, I might just be a comedian. And afterwards, he came up to me and he said, I want to sponsor you doing a comedy show.
See,
and that was the birth of this whole thing of me doing the Midlife Crisis Show at the Parkway. And so it's actually sponsored by Catalyst Mental Health, my employer. And I was like, hey, there you go. He's like, yeah, doesn't that go hand in hand with therapy and stuff too? Yeah. Like we all need laughter. We need to be able to make light of things. But yeah, going back to shrinking and, oh my God, would a professional do that? And here I am on stage telling these stories, and there's my boss, but he goes, no, this is great. This is absolutely
careful or you'll wind up on season 4.
Yes, exactly.
It's by coincidence. Last night I did this speech for people. I don't know if it was a speech. It was kind of, you talk about your life and all the rest of it. I talked about that very thing, that, 3 of my uncles were murdered and they took my father away in a straitjacket because he popped a bolt and all the rest of it. And what? We did.
I just love all the different ways you say that phrase.
Probably is a more technical term of what your dad was.
Schizophrenia. That's right.
No, it's in the DSM. Right. We use that.
Yep. It was actually in the DSM-1. It's been around for a while, Tom.
We were just talking about this last night. So I'm watching as they're hauling my dad away in a straitjacket on a stretcher. He's screaming and yelling. And my father and I never got along. You have to understand that. And my older sister, Bobby, is standing next to me. And as they wheel him past the kids, 6 of us were there because my brother Terry was in Vietnam at the time. He wasn't at home. And as they're wheeling my father by, he gets about 5 feet past us. And my sister looks down at me and goes, Tommy, I think they think our dad is nuts. And I started laughing. And I think it changed my life. That moment changed my life forever, because then I walked in the other room and started watching sitcoms. You have to laugh, ladies and gentlemen. You have to laugh. And that's all there is to it.
Especially at one of the most traumatic points in your life, especially as a little kid at that time. You're like, it's almost too much to try and cope with.
No question about it. So I'm watching Dick Van Dyke as my dad's being put in an ambulance taken to the nut house. I mean, I'll never forget it.
What a perfect thing to watch, too.
Oh, God, because it was all about a dad who loved his family.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. See, most people don't catch that point. That I didn't know I was even doing it because I was only 7 years old. But I look back now and I go, I did that intentionally. I didn't know I was doing it intentionally, but I did.
You found a healthy way of coping.
Yep,
it's true. And I think we talked about it before, Tom, when I've been on here, but how and when do we use laughter to cope with things? Because, sometimes we know that people can use it as an escape. You have people who deflect with humor and all that stuff. But boy, when you can learn how to tap into that, especially for such a life-changing thing that you're talking about right there that you experienced. And to this day, look at all these years later, you're talking to us about it. I mean, that's how meaningful and important that was to you.
When it does help other people, and they always talk about how open and honest I am about that, because I guess a lot of people try to hide that in their genetics and all the rest of it. Hell, if you ever listen to my show, I'm nuts, so it all works out in the end. I'm not revealing anything new. Oh, listen to all the support I just got there, Jesse.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I think part of it is the way that most people look at mental illnesses. I mean, it's really sadly kind of looked at, maybe I'm wrong, but it's like, take depression, for instance. People think it's like a character flaw. And, if you just go for walks, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Smile. Tell that to somebody that's got pancreatic cancer. Maybe you should eat some carrots and it'll clear it right up. It doesn't work that way.
No, it does not. But that's a very good point, how to deal with all that kind. Because, where I grew up, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on. And, kids trying to deal with this, that, and the other thing. And it just, that's why I got to be honest with you. Now, when I was a kid, Jesse, some people were afraid to even talk about psychiatry or going to see a psychiatrist or a therapist or whatever. We're way past that now, aren't we?
Well, I would say it's a mixed bag. I mean, it's
okay.
We're past that for a lot of people. We're not past that for everybody. Like, I'll notice that in comedy shows, because in comedy shows I talk about being a therapist on stage, right? So depending on the community I go to, I might go to some communities. Like, I would say more so if I'm in Minneapolis somewhere and I say, all right, we're in a new day and age. How many of you are willing to admit you're in therapy? Yeah. All right. Fantastic. There's this feeling of, this is because we're wanting to be as healthy as we can be. So we have therapists to talk to about things. But if I go to some other communities, maybe some certain suburbs, or you go to smaller town communities, there can be more of a tendency where I go how many of you are in therapy? And you hear crickets. There's still a little bit of that. Like, well, why would I go to therapy? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm like, okay, yes. So there's still a little bit of that mentality of there's nothing wrong with me.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say who's in therapy and nobody raises their hand, you're like, okay, if you guys all look down, my card is on the table.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I can tap into that, because here's what I do when it is silence: is I go, okay, how many of y'all here are in denial? And then they immediately, I'll go, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, at least you do recognize that is happening.
No, I have dumped a lot of pressure on you, because in about 3 minutes, we're going to take a break. And then we're going to come back, and you have to try to analyze Kristyn Burtt, which is not going to be easy, because her entire state is on fire right now. So that's going to be interesting. I mean, have you seen the videos of what's going on?
Terrible.
Oh my God, that place is torched.
I saw the headlines, some headlines last night about the fires, and I just didn't have time. I've been too busy, but I was like, is this worse than what's been happening? Because, it's becoming so much more of a normal thing now. So I don't know the degree to which it's happening right now.
No, it's absolutely true. But Jesse, I do love the fact that you reached out and came on the show and doing all the rest of it, because I've had friends. I went to see a therapist, I believe, at 18 years old. And when I was 18 years old, nobody in my age group ever went to see a therapist. But I mean, it helped me get through life. And I don't think it was going to be life ending or anything like that, but I could have been a little crazier than I am now had I not done it. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'll just say this: it did come up recently for me with a keep it very vague here, a young person potentially seeing me for therapy, and one of the parents reached out to me about they weren't so sure that they wanted their trying to make sure I'm staying nice and vague here. They didn't want their child, their teenager, to come in and see me. One parent wanted them to, the other one not so much, and so I got to speak with them, and it was interesting to see that the one parent, that was their mindset, is like, I don't understand why my kid would come in and see you for therapy. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not getting into trouble. And to be able to take like a half hour to talk to this parent and kind of go, it doesn't have to be about that. It can kind of be about, can't we agree that your kid has been going through a lot of life changes recently? The family's been going through a lot of life changes recently. And just the idea that, naturally it could be causing your kid some stress, and I can just be somebody that they can come and talk to and open up to, and they don't have to worry about, offending somebody or they didn't get in trouble. And then it was nice because towards the end, then the parent was kind of able to go, okay, I can see how my kid could benefit from that. So
it's a wonderful experience because, the man that I went to see is no longer with us because that was all those years ago, a long, long time ago. But I adored that guy. He was just and it wasn't just, he understood what the hell I was feeling and thinking. And I think he was the first person who ever understood that. And if that's the value to me of a person like Jesse the Shrink, is he will know not only what you're thinking, but how it feels to think that way. That's very, very important, I think.
And I can feel it. That is definitely, Tom, that's one of the most powerful aspects of it. Because of course I have the humility to say it's not like I know everything or anything like that. Right. But that is for sure a very common experience I have, is to have somebody come in and for me to be able to kind of go back to them and go, it seems like you're feeling this way, you're thinking this way, you're wondering this, to say it back to them in that way where they can then go to me and I can feel it and I can see it where they're going, yes, that's it. Even if I'm doing that with a family in my presence, for them to go, yes, mom, dad, husband, wife, yes, that's exactly it. They suddenly feel a lot more understood and a lot less alone because somebody gets it.
That's
as
exactly
much as possible.
This man's name, I two things, we'll move on and we'll come back and we'll talk because I want you talking to Kristyn Burtt's going to be interesting because she's got to be stressed out as a son of a bitch because her entire state's on fire. Mm-hmm. But I do remember Perry Roth was the man's name. Just the psychologist that I went to see. We became really, really good friends, which, he always kept that buried because you're not supposed to, I suppose, be hanging out with your therapist or whatever. And it was long after the therapy was done that I did start seeing him once in a while. But one of my favorite things about Perry Roth was the fact there was a guy at the time, a very wealthy, multi-millionaire named Percy Ross. And he used to give away tons of money to people to help them out. Well, a lot of people thought Perry Roth was Percy Ross. So they'd be like, yeah, I need some help. I was like, it was really something to watch. Perry Roth, Percy Ross. What's the difference? You
can't get those mixed up.
You can get them mixed up.
So how do you feel about not getting any money from me?
Yeah, so how do you feel about that? And as we go to break, I will say this. One of my favorites, I'm sitting there talking to Perry one day, and he said, I'm just sitting talking to him. He goes, we run over a little bit, but my next patient hasn't shown up yet, so if you want to just hang around till he gets here, that's fine. We're talking about this, that, and the other thing. And we go through a half hour. His next patient has not shown up yet. And I think I've told you this story before, Jesse, but I said, well, I got to get going now. I'd love to talk some more, but I'll see you next week and all the rest of it. I walk over, I open the door, and his next client was standing behind the door like this. He's in a karate pose, and he'd been there for a half an hour. I talked to the guy across the aisle. He said, that guy's been standing in front of that locked door or the closed door for a half an hour in a karate pose. It's like, okay.
That's a good example of why people say, I don't need to go to therapy. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. Now, Doug, you spent a lot of time studying psychology and all the rest of it, did you not?
Yeah, I was a psychology major. I worked as a mental health counselor after I got out of school, and my dad was a cognitive and developmental psychology professor. So
there you go.
It's all old stuff, though, but I've always found therapy fascinating. There's a classic film series for psychologists from the 50s where 3 really famous therapists interview the same patient.
The same lady. Yes.
They're totally different approaches. One guy he's totally East Coast, talks all the time. And then Carl Rogers, who's just like awesome.
He's my main influence. And I remember that video. Exactly.
It's really cool. So I know a little bit about it.
Because the thing with, and tell me if I gotta shut up here, but in that video series, they had the different founders of different models of therapy. Same real woman. I remember she was smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, well, it was the 50s. They all did.
And Carl Rogers became my main influence as a therapist.
Well, he comes out as the star.
Yeah, and he's the one who, because he comes along and he's like, look, I want to validate, I want to listen, I want to empathize, and I'm not here to solve everything.
And you can watch the woman just sort of relax.
She totally relaxes. The one thing I do remember is at the end when they say, so what was your takeaway from each of the therapists? The one thing she did say on that is she's like, well, it didn't really give me anything tangible to do. And I learned from that. That's where I decided I'm going to incorporate Carl Rogers' approach, but also solution focus. So I can go, I validate, but also, I do have some ideas.
But you're going to have more than one session. So I think the Rogers approach is, see, Tom, aren't you glad you opened this can of worms? We better take a break.
I love this stuff.
Oh, I'm awake now.
Kristyn just turned her computer off.
You know what we could do is just continue this over into the family hour as well after we're done with this, because I find this stuff fascinating. And I love the fact because when I was a kid and people found out as a teenager that I was going to see a psychologist, they thought, what the hell are you doing that for? Oh, my God, what a terrible. It was totally against the rules to go try to seek help for emotional problems back in those days. Just take some drugs, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or shock treatment. That was kind of
shock treatment.
Up until the mid-70s or so.
I'll never forget my dad. Dad had shock therapy. I walked into the room, and my dad and I never got along. You have to remember that. And I was a little boy. He said, Tommy, if you're getting some weird thoughts, don't ever tell anybody because you don't want shock therapy.
Great parental advice.
Lessons I learned from Dad. When you hear the voices, don't say anything.
That's exactly it, man. We will take a break, come back, and continue this. Yeah, if you guys can stick around for the family show as well. I love this because this does nothing but help people to talk about your own emotional problems or mental problems or what you've been through. Seeking help for your problems is always a good thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't that way 50 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
It was not. There's no question about it. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. KB, unless she is, on fire right now, she will join us right after this. This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you. They're making it through. Mike Lindell and his employees want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows now for only $14.98. Yes, I said $14.98. I cannot believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98, but it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get My Body Pillows for $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code TOM or call 800-516-5146. Use promo code TOM to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now is only $14.98. Queens at $18.98 and Kings only $1 more. Not only that, orders $75 or more ship absolutely free. MyPillow, baby. That's all I got to say.
The past several years have been the craziest in the history of the car business. The pandemic, supply chain, and chip issues all causing extreme inventory shortages that led to, predatory pricing. Some dealers charge thousands of dollars over MSRP.
We never played that game. I'm Jim Paul of Valley Buick GMC. We knew that would leave a bad taste in a customer's mouth. More importantly, from an integrity standpoint, it was just wrong.
So what about the current market? Inventory and pricing.
Valley has their best inventory in years. Really all the Buick and GMC models. Even the previously hard-to-find Yukons, HD pickups, and Hummer EVs. Plenty of deep discounts. Many with factory rebates and low-interest financing.
Then it's a good time to buy?
It's a great time. We're welcoming our previous customers back, as well as anyone else that felt the treatment just didn't feel right the last time somewhere else.
Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley and Hastings or valleycardealers.com. Car buying without the bad aftertaste.
I hosted my show on the radio for 40 years. Now I host the Tom Barnard Podcast, and I'll tell you, I've never seen the passion and engagement from our audience as I do now. I know we also have businesses that listen to our podcast, and it got me thinking, wouldn't it be great to help those businesses grow by telling my listeners about them? So here's the deal. If you own or handle marketing for a business, would like to have my audience buy your product or service, visit TomBarnardShow.com, keyword partner, and we'll put together an ad campaign to help your business. That's TomBarnardShow.com, keyword partner, and thank you for listening.
This is the Tom Barnard Podcast.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You actually have a camera working without smoke?
I do have power, which is shocking. However, I'm in a warning zone and we are preparing to leave, unfortunately. Just in case.
Is it like dark and gray and
it's orange outside, and it's the smell of like that heavy smell of smoke. And I think what you're not seeing, that the national news is covering the Pacific Palisades, which is just devastating. That whole neighborhood is gone because there aren't enough resources. There's not enough water. But there are fires all over LA. And so where I'm located, I'm kind of like in the west part toward the coastline. And so Pacific Palisades turned into a Topanga fire. So we're about 5 miles from Topanga. So we've been on alert. Bill stayed up all night just in case we did have to leave in the middle of the night. He let me sleep. He's sleeping right now. But unfortunately now I'm going to just get all my directions. The west is an issue. And then to the north of us, just a couple miles away, is a rapidly spreading fire, which is an Olympic venue, by the way. So that also isn't great. So we're going to just be prepared and just in case we have to go.
Did you get my message?
No, I didn't. I saw that you called and then I picked it up because you FaceTime audioed me and I picked it up and then you just hung up.
Oh, so just as you were picking it up, I was hanging up.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to, just checking on, I wasn't checking on you. I was checking on your husband. I don't care about
my
you.
Cats.
Wow.
You're like, how are the cats doing?
Yeah, how are the cats doing? I don't care about
I will tell you though, it's so interesting because animals are such sensitive creatures.
Oh God.
They are bonkers. They know that something is up. The wind is so loud. And like you hear, every once in a while, like I haven't gone outside in probably 8 to 10 hours or so. You just hear a loud thud, and you're like, "What the heck was that?" Wow. Things are falling over. I don't know what it looks like on our street. I haven't gone out to look yet because it was dark when I woke up, and then I was prepping for my day. But the animals are nuts. They definitely know that something's going on, and the sirens are non-stop.
So what do you have? Like, do you have a go bag packed and ready to go? And like, what items do you put in there?
Sure. We have an emergency kit. So it's all of that came out last night, which is like lanterns. We have fire masks, goggles, things like that. Flashlights, of course, everything was charged up. The cats have their own to-go bag, of course, with food. I know it sounds so sad, doesn't it? But they do have their own emergency kit with a portable litter box, several of those, their treats, and of course a carrier to take them with us. But then when it comes to emergency things, if you only have a few minutes to go, what do you need? Laptop, keys to your car if you can get out, our fireproof safe, which is portable. We will be able to get all that with all of our insurance information. But since we have time to pack, that's when you can take some of the sentimental stuff. So I'm thinking, what photos do we want that are digitized? What are those mementos that you want to keep? There's like a couple Christmas ornaments that I'd be devastated if I lost, things like that. So because we have that opportunity to kind of think about it, that's what we'll be doing. And there's like 2 paintings that I can't leave behind. So,
and then one more, where do you is there a specific area that you're like planning on going if you have to evacuate? Is there like a friend's house or are there hotels? Like, what is that process like?
The hotels are filling up here in Los Angeles, obviously, because of the devastating fires, but our plan is just to go to San Francisco, just go to his family's house, drive north, get away from it all. And that way we can be kind of out of the traffic and, we'll have resources too if we go north. So I think that is the plan.
Go drink wine at the
does this all
Fountain.
feel, Kristyn?
It is surreal. It's honestly surreal. I was in Hurricane Milton and evacuated from that, just a few months ago when I was in Florida, and then to have this happen. And I particularly am not in a fire zone per se. It's amazing how the fire zones and borders have changed since I've lived here. I've lived in Los Angeles over 20 years, and it never used to be an issue if you were living in certain neighborhoods. It's now an issue. And I think that that is what really, I honestly we have an app that we use here called Watch Duty. And I've been honestly just watching it all morning long to see how fast the fire down the street is going. And it's crossed over the street. That's what our big concern, because there's a big boulevard and it's jumped the boulevard. Wow. And now it's on the residential side.
And I know I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, wow, I don't want to go too into therapist mode for you here, but I'm thinking like, so you're in hypervigilance mode. You have to be like, this is kind of survival mode. What's your, this is totally therapist mode, but what is your stress on a 1 to 10 right now? I mean,
on a 1 to 10, I'd say it's probably about a 7. I mean, I feel a little anxious, honestly. We've never really had to think about a serious evacuation. This is the first time. And we do have our household is very prepared. We do have an emergency plan in place. We have emergency exits that we go. Every person is in charge. Like my husband and I are in charge of a cat. So everyone has a cat responsibility. So we have given this stuff thought because we have earthquakes too. So that's why we have an emergency kit. We've got ready to eat meals. We are ready. We've got cash on hand. I'm a preparer. So I'm super type A. Bill's like, whatever, but it was the first time like in an emergency situation here in Los Angeles that he said, I'm not going to sleep. He stayed up all night watching the news. Wow. And so I was like, oh, even he's feeling it. Because Bill is very, very low key, even keeled. I'm the one that's like, okay, let's get prepared and let's go.
I have a question for you. And as somebody who's been through hurricanes, in hurricane areas, there are people that will say the following: I'm just going to ride her out. Does that happen in fire zones as well?
No.
There are a few people that want to save their house. I think we've seen a little bit of that. There were some people that came in last night to the hospital in the Los Angeles area with burns because the fires move so rapidly. But I think most people understand that sometimes you only have minutes to escape.
Yeah.
People were abandoning their cars on the hill and running down the hill for their safety with their kids and their pets.
Wow.
Just the clothes on their back yesterday, to the point that LAFD had to come in with a bulldozer and just push the cars to the side because they needed the fire trucks to come through, and the abandoned cars created barriers. And I don't know if anyone saw the clip. I know it's gone viral, but Steve Guttenberg was saying, please leave your keys in the car. I will move your car down the hill for you. I'm helping the fire department. I'm like, he's such a good guy to be, staying behind and helping where he can, because even losing a car is a devastating loss. Cars are expensive for people, but remember, your life is always much more precious than the worth of your car. So
I want to say there was a video last year, I think, during some of the California fires of like, there's a mother and her young child in the car, and there's like flames around them, and she's like miraculously doing the mother thing of like, oh, it's gonna be okay, baby, singing a song with the kid, and they're driving through flames, and I'm just like, oh my God.
The reassurance, like, people are amazing, and able to get your kids and your pets out is stressful, because you're just trying to stay alive, but you don't want to alarm them. And many people, especially driving down PCH, people who had to escape that route, had fire on both sides of them. And for people who are familiar with like the Topanga Canyon area, with the Malibu area, a lot of those businesses and homes on both sides of Pacific Coast Highway, PCH as we call it, are gone. They're just not there. And they were gone in a matter of minutes.
Isn't it amazing the stress you can go there? I have all these memories, growing up Catholic and JFK being shot to death and murdered when I was in 7th grade was very, very stressful. Well, just a short time later, I'm sick. I'm at home. My mother and I, 2955 Russell, I can give you the address because that lot is still empty after all these years, after our house burned down. I was at home with my mother, and I'm laying on the couch, not feeling great. And she goes, that was back in the days when houses were separated. the bedrooms were, you went through one door to get to all the other bedrooms.
Like a railroad flat.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yes, exactly. She opened that door and about a 12 to 15 foot flame shot across the ceiling. I will never forget it, but I got a good laugh out of it, even at, a seventh grader. My mother runs in the kitchen, comes back, and throws a cup of water at the flame. I'm like, okay, Mom, that'll get her done. But yeah, watching that flame shoot over your head is like, oh my God, that was scary. They never rebuilt on that. That lot is still empty to this day. Unbelievable.
You need to stage it and start over. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess maybe, but
fire is scary.
Fire is scary. Fire is very, very scary. There's no question about it. So I just, sorry that I didn't stay on long enough to talk to you last night, but we were very concerned about you because that fire moves. People do not know how fast fire can move. Holy God, it's terrifying.
It can be a matter of seconds, honestly. Seconds, yeah. And we've experienced a lot of fires over the years here in California. We've seen them. The Malibu Woolsey fire in 2018 was just astonishing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then, up in Northern California, they've had the Paradise Fire. I think about some of those. And the Paradise Fire survivors, it was, for most of them, the ones who survived, it was just pure luck. Like some of them wound up in a Walmart parking lot, and for some reason, like the fire just didn't reach that one particular parking lot, although everything around it burned down. Or you have people that said, we jumped into our pool and kept on just dunking ourselves under, and then by the time like we were able to like get out, the fire had receded, or the firemen were able to save us. It's just devastating. And I know people are thinking Pacific Palisades is where all the celebrities live, and they do, and a lot of them have lost their homes. And I know people like to just be apathetic and be like, they're rich, they can rebuild. The emotional, and Jesse, you can probably speak to this, the emotional impact that this creates. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, losing everything is just devastating, and everyone should have some empathy for anyone who is impacted by this.
Well, if you're poor, it's not that bad. I've been through it.
You need a roof over your head. You want a roof over your head.
You do. You're absolutely right.
Just watch some Dick Van Dyke, Tom, right?
That's what I'll do, is watch Dick Van Dyke. It'll make me a lot happier. I might have been watching Dick Van Dyke when I saw the 12-foot flame come across the ceiling. But no, I'm really glad that you did get, you saw that at least reached out to you, because I've been there indoors in a fire, and it is terrifying. Man.
Yeah, and I'm glad, Kristyn, you guys have all the plans in place, because go back to the instincts in the moment. If you don't have things planned, go back to Tom's mom and throwing a cup of water on the fire, with
the garden hose. Yeah.
Kristyn, you sound like if a zombie apocalypse comes along or whatever, we want to have you on our team. You're ready.
I will survive the zombie apocalypse. I promise you that.
I think that's the only thing left on your checklist, because within the last 6 months, we've seen you in an earthquake, hurricane, and now a wildfire. Like, this is
she's battle tested.
Yeah.
And I was on an earthquake on this show. We were in the middle of this segment.
The screen just started shaking.
They're freaking out, and I'm like, it's just a small 5.0.
Wow.
As the emergency alert's going off, and Tevin's like,
and Tom's like, so tell us about the upcoming award show, Kristyn.
Right. What have you been watching lately?
And I'm like, it's no big deal, we're good. But you can see the cameras going. And then I called you as I was evacuating for Hurricane Milton.
Yes.
So you know what? Don't ever give me any flack about not being dedicated to this show, because this is the third disaster and I show up.
She's been here every time. Three disasters. She's always there.
That's right.
I think you proved your merit yesterday with a wiener alert.
Wiener
safe.
warning. Wiener warning.
Now, what the hell was with the wiener warning? Do you know about that, Jesse? The wiener warning?
No, I'm very curious. What was the wiener warning?
Kristyn.
Oh, I'm telling you. Tom gets scared if there are naked wieners on TV shows, and he would like a wiener warning anytime one is about to appear.
Yes.
We had been talking about White Lotus and Jennifer Coolidge, who was in the White Lotus. And
who doesn't have a penis, by the way.
He does not.
It was Steve Zahn.
Who does not? But there is a wiener warning very early on in this first season, first episode or two of The White Lotus, and Tom gets scared if he sees a naked wiener. So we decided that we get scared. Wiener warning, wiener warning.
Tom, we will psychoanalyze that in hour 2.
Yes.
And 3 and 4.
You may have like, no, you are scared. You are scared of a wiener. But it wound up being a really funny little bit.
Why do I keep doing this show? I should have retired years ago. This abuse, nonstop abuse.
I don't know
question
why
about
you
it.
keep having me back every day too. I mean, what are you
There's
doing?
a big story this morning about Jennifer Coolidge. What is that? I was looking for it just now. There's a big headline about her this morning. What's going on with her? Does she have a problem or something?
With Jennifer Coolidge?
Or so is it more of her viral video from Kristyn yesterday?
From me? Is that it?
Oh, Kristyn started. Kristyn is the problem here. I could see that being true. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I told my girlfriend yesterday, I was like, oh, you know that video of Jennifer Coolidge? Like, that was Kristyn Burtt that asked that question. Oh, my gosh, that was Kristyn Burtt? That's amazing. I was like, well, let's calm down.
It's wild going viral for something that was honestly such a split second. Like, I better just grab her. She's kind of waltzing by, but she's waltzing by slowly. And I feel like she'll say something. And I was like, like just blurting out a question, and she just gave the best answer. So we love her for that.
I just love the fact that you are so calm and cool, knowing that what's right outside your door. You're an amazing woman, Kristyn Burtt.
Thank you. And I'm going to be on with Chris, WCCO, at just a little bit after noon. So I'll be at the top of the hour Central Time. Like 12:05.
What's that?
I'm going to be on with Chris.
Yes, KSTP.
Yep, KSTP, not WCCO.
Oh, he told me WCCO.
Who did? Chris?
Looking for the
Chris Egert?
Interesting.
Wait, did I not read it the right thing right? I'm like, let me look.
You're talking about Chris Egert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on Channel 5. Yeah.
Channel 5.
KSTP.
I don't know where I'm going to be, but I'm going to be on with Chris.
Care 11.
They're all second to the mighty Channel 5.
No, I'm on WCCO. Listen, he said I'm doing 12 to 3 shift on WCCO today. Yes.
What?
Chris Egert?
Did you get fired?
Yeah, maybe he got fired since we just had him on 20 minutes ago.
No, but let's face it. Chris is a nice guy, but he's not the sharpest
WCCO right there.
No wonder why he's tired of that.
Yeah, he's at the wrong studio.
I don't know.
Yeah, he looked really tired. That's true. All right,
I
Kristyn.
swear to God, WCCO.
Yeah, really? Interesting.
Well, I will just say, but before we're done, Kristyn, it's pretty amazing when you gave me that answer on a 1 to 10, you're at a 7. When you have everything around you that's going on, and all of that stuff, for you to say you're at a 7, I'm just like, I would imagine the average person's at what, 12. A 9, a 9.9, a 12. So kudos.
If we have to evacuate, I'll probably be at a 15. So
no, because if you evacuate, you're going to come to Florida and hang out with Uncle Tommy.
Okay, we have 2 cats and Bill.
That's fine. We have a dog.
We're going to show up. We're going to be like, hey.
No, we were thinking about you last night, and of course, Catherine wishes you all the best. You two, the 2 KBs together, Kristyn Burtt and Catherine Brandt. It's like torture for me, but a gift for the rest of the world. That's what it is. But be safe, my dear, and we're praying for you and thinking about you all the time, and run away.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to go finish up packing.
All right, my dear. Let me know how things are going.
Well,
I will for sure. Bye, everyone.
Bye. That's it right there. When she just said, I have to go pack. I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people do not believe me when I tell them all the things that have happened in my life. They go, there is no way your house burned down. Your father was hauled away in a straitjacket. This happened. Yes, they did. All of those things happened. It just, just the way life works. And Kristyn Burtt goes through hurricanes in Florida and wildfires in California. It's like, holy God. I do adore that woman, though. She is one of my favorite people. I've never met her in person. Really? Never. Working with her for like 12 years, something like that?
Yeah, a long time.
But I've never met her in person, but I just think she's such a sweetheart of a person.
I thought of one of my favorite lines, the Grateful Dead song, Truckin', what a long, strange trip it's been.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
No, Jesse, can you hang around for the second show for a while, or you got to go?
Yeah, I can be here for a little bit, yeah.
Tevin, AJ, what do you got cooking?
Not too much, but I mean, Jesse, where you said you had some shows going on this week, let people know where they can
so kind of like the big one I'm promoting right now is next Wednesday night, January the 15th at the Parkway Theater, Jesse the Shrink's Midlife Crisis Show 3. Tom, you should, I don't know if you got access right now, but you should pull up go to theparkwaytheater.com.
Okay.
Pull up the visual I've got, the graphic for this show, because you know Jeff Foser, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff Foser's the headliner of this. So I've got an ensemble. And so if you look at the graphic, you're gonna see him on there like this with a burning car in the background, representing the midlife crisis. So check out that graphic. But I'm gonna be there at the Parkway next Wednesday, and we've got a group of comedians. And what's gonna be fun is that I'm combining kind of a group therapy session feel.
Oh, there it is. I'm looking at it right now.
There, see, there's Foser right there. It's a little tough to see, but yeah. And there's the burning car in the background, midlife crisis ahead.
There it is, right?
What's funny is right over his shoulder to the left, there, well, to our right, Khadijah Cooper.
Oh, she's great.
I had her mother, Cece, in my midlife crisis show too. And I did not invite Khadijah back then because you have to be at least 40 to be in this show. But Khadijah turned 40 this year. So I was like, congratulations, Khadijah. You now get to be in my midlife crisis show. And she's like, oh my God, I totally fit and can relate. So Jimmy Davis there next to her, he's kind of a St. Paul legend comedian. He was in my original midlife crisis show. Same thing with Peggy Miller. The first time we did this was at Mall of America, and it was a big hit. I did the second one at Laugh Camp Comedy Club in St. Paul, and so now this one's going to be at the Parkway Theater.
Can I give you a marketing tip?
Yeah, dude.
What time is it?
I have been getting so much flack from everybody's like, I don't know what it is. Jesse will not put times on his flyers. So this show goes from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, and you just go to theparkwaytheater.com for tickets. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal show. So yeah, I'm setting it up like a group therapy session. We're going to have therapy chairs up on the stage. We're all going to be sitting together with our own microphones, and I'm going to be kind of leading this discussion about what it's like being in this phase of life. And then as a therapy assignment, I'm going to send each of them up to the microphone to deliver their individual comedy sets. So this is really going to be a ton of fun. If for some reason people can't make it to that, I have a wonderful show this Friday and 2 nights from now at Gambit Brewing in Lower Town, St. Paul. Excellent. I'm producing and hosting Friday Night Comedy with Jason Schomer and Jody Murtha. If you guys don't know Jason was the regular opener for Louis Anderson for years.
Right, yes.
Tom, do you know Jason?
Yep, I do definitely.
Okay, yeah. So that's
really
going to be a phenomenal show. If people can't make it next Wednesday, go this Friday to Gambit Brewing's website for tickets for the Friday night show. It's really going to be a ton of fun, but that Midlife Crisis Show 3 is really going to be something. You don't want to miss that.
All right. I hate to admit this, but one of my favorite places on earth, the Mexican restaurant right next door to the Parkway, it closed for a while. Is it open again? That Mexican restaurant was one of my favorite. I can't even remember the name of the damn restaurant anymore. Anybody remember that? Right there next to the Parkway Theater. God, I love that.
A lot of comedians used to hang out there in the 80s, didn't they?
Oh, God, yes. A lot. That's why we were always there in the 80s. It was a great restaurant. I hope it's still open. Although, if you guys don't know what it is, it probably is not open anymore. I'm thinking. We'll have to track it down.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll figure it out. All right, Tevin, AJ, get off your ass and go do your real jobs. Jesse and Doug will join us with the rest of the gang and the family.
Before we wrap up, do you mind if we hit the Kristyn Burtt outro?
Nope, forget it. You're out of the mix.
I want to make sure she gets paid.
I understand. You going to do it?
Oh, yes. I didn't know. Kristyn Burtt Entertainment News was brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Can I say
that was professional?
I want to say something real quick. I forgot. I'm so sorry. My Midlife Crisis Show 3 is sponsored by my employer, Catalyst Mental Health. And I've never had a sponsor for a show. I got to remember to make sure to put that out there. Catalyst Mental Health is who I work for. My boss saw me doing a stand-up performance where I was talking about being a therapist, and then that ended up being how we came up with this show. So I want to make sure to throw that in there.
Well, laughter is one of the most important things in life. There is no question about it. We talked about it last night at the speech that I gave, that if you can't laugh, you're going to live a miserable life. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. So get out, have a few laughs, go see Jesse, and we'll be back in about 8 minutes. Tevin, AJ, have a magnificent day. We'll see you other two guys in just minutes from now. Thanks. Bye.